Welcome back to Casual Conversations. I am your host, Ryan Bean, here with the talent behind the camera, Elena Sweetser, and actually in front of the camera. Behind the camera is Amber. I'm the one that has the least amount of talent of the three.
What is he doing here?
Starting off rough already. But anyway, thank you guys for joining in with us. We appreciate it. We are talking all things life, business, marriage, kids, raising kids,
friends, because we have those.
Yeah, today was last day of school, so it's fun times all around. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in today. We really appreciate you guys being here, and we are going to get into it today.
We are. It's been an interesting week, and like we said in our podcast, we want to have real life conversations. And today might be a little bit more of a difficult type of topic, but unfortunately, I feel like a lot of people have gone through what Ryan has gone through the last few days, and unfortunately he just lost his father. So do you want to kind of
so it's for me it's very sad news to get the call earlier in the week, and especially after we had just planned on my dad coming out here for the summer, and we literally were booking flights that day, and followed up with him to say, hey, when are you coming to town, or do these dates work? And an hour later found out that he had passed on. So it's a lot of praying for him, a lot of praying as a family, but I also know that in general everyone grieves differently, and for me I think it was a good thing to talk about today, just because some people kind of cower down and kind of they really lose it. We didn't have really an emotional attachment growing up. My dad was more hard, right? So absolutely a lot of love in our family and things like that. There was, I don't know where's the love part come in.
Tough love.
It's in there somewhere. No, there's a lot of love for my dad for sure. Very sad news, but there wasn't a really tight emotional connection, and that's something that I've tried to learn from. Right. And one of the things that I've tried to do is not be that way with my kids, and I think it's just because of how my dad's upbringing was. Right, he was he was brought up with 6 brothers, so you have a house of 7 boys. It was very old school upbringing he had. So I think in his eyes, he was already so much easier on us kids based on what his comparison was. And likewise with my kids today. So, I've definitely made a lot of changes, but part of it too is I'm one of those guys that push through quickly. I don't like to dwell. I don't like to let negative energy get to me. I don't like to let it consume me. So, for a lot of people are like, hey, do you need time? I'm like, I'll take time when we get to the arrangements and things like that. But overall, it's like work helps me keep my mind occupied. My kids keep me occupied, and I want my mind working all the time. So super sad news. Like I said, it happened 5 days ago, so it's kind of it's obviously still fresh.
Open wound,
and thankfully, my half sister lived really close to him, so she's helping take on a lot of the stuff because it was in Arizona, so he's states away too, which that also makes it challenging. So, but anyway, it's a tough week, but I think how you overcome it. We talk a lot about overcoming things on this podcast, and I think for me, you just have to push through. You got to keep your mind occupied. Life goes on. He would want life to go on. He would tell me flat out, keep doing what you're doing. And, he wasn't afraid of death. And for me, I'm hanging on to the fact that my mom passed away, almost 10 years ago now. But now they're reunited, and I've got a lot of faith that they are reunited. And,
because they were the love of each other.
Oh, absolutely. And they were married for 30 plus years. And I think he just never really got over that part of it. And I don't blame him for it. I think he just tried to cope, and he tried to get through life the best he could by himself. But now for me, it's this, I hang on to the fact that the last thing I told him was I loved him, because I talked to him 2 days prior, because again, we were planning his trip out here. So I'm very thankful that I was able to have that conversation. And the last words he literally heard come out of my mouth was, I love you, Dad. So I'm very blessed and very grateful that I got to have those last words with him. And he was laughing, joking. We were on FaceTime, and he was having a great day. And unfortunately, this is what happens in life. And you gotta keep pushing through, and you can't let it, for me, again, everyone grieves differently, and I'm
similar to you.
I think that for me, I'm not as emotional on that type of stuff as other people may be, but that's just kind of who
I
am.
think you really tapped into it, and you put things in perspective. You said the word life, and really how important is life. We all think we have all this time in the world, and we have all the time in the world with those we love, and we don't realize that just like you're in your 40s, and your father passed away, right?
Yep.
And literally the next morning, when I found out, and I messaged you, I texted my family, our group chat, and I was like, I had a buddy who dad passed away yesterday, and his mom passed away years ago, and I don't think we realize like how lucky we are to still have our parents.
Yeah.
And my mom's been battling health issues for the last 2 months, in and out of the hospital, and it puts things into perspective. And so we went out there right before Easter for a week, which, me, that was really hard with my job right now to juggle that.
Yep.
And we're going to go out again for a week for her birthday here in June. And once again, me, that is really tough for me to do that because my job is so demanding. But if you think about it, I'm like, I'm never going to get this time back with her.
Well, no, like I said, time, we talk about this all the time. Time is our most precious asset, right? And, health is right up there as well. And, just as far as being around as long as you can. But when you start looking at my dad, me and my brother talked about this recently, it's hard because, like you said, he's in his 30s. Me and my sister in our early 40s. I'm almost in my mid 40s, unfortunately. But it's, and to have both parents already gone, right?
Yeah.
There's still so many years that we have ahead of us.
Yeah.
That, the grandkids, some of them are young, they won't have a relationship with either of them. So there's those type of things that are more heartbreaking to me.
Yeah.
It's just those type of things. But you also look, like you said, the time, right? You gotta find a way to make it happen. Because if you look at, okay, let's say for instance, you saw your parents once a year.
I was just gonna bring it up. We talked about that.
So that's where me and Matt were. We just had this conversation yesterday, and I said, we've only seen him really for the most part once a year for the last decade. So when you think about it, I saw him 10 times in 10 years, and how little that really is. And when you put in perspective how busy you are, and we have all these things going on in life, how am I going to find the time to do it? I think it's just an excuse. I think you make it as an excuse because it's an inconvenience, right? Let's just call it what it is. It's an inconvenience.
Or an expense too, if your parents
no doubt about it. We're not discounting that at all. But just in general, it's like, okay, what do I have to shuffle around? Yeah, I want to see you, but can't we just like catch up on the phone call or FaceTime? And you justify it in your head, like, okay, that's just that's good. But I think once they're gone, you start to realize, and that's what always happens, right?
Yeah.
Hindsight's 20/20, and you always look back and go, man, I should have done this, or I should have spent more time, or I should have made more of an effort here. But it can be gone tomorrow. Like I said, I spoke to him on Saturday night, and a day and a half later, he's gone. So
well, to put in perspective too, because we have to flip-flop holidays with my family and my husband's family here.
That's another part of it too.
And so every Christmas, it's flip-flop, right? And I was telling Cole, I said, after this whole thing, we actually had more of like a come to Jesus moment about being more intentional with our families. Now, my husband's family is here.
Yep.
They live an hour or so away, but that's still a doable drive for as much as we drive.
Yeah.
And so I told him, I said, I can commit to going out to see your parents one weekend a month. Like obviously we go like one night.
Yep.
If you can commit to visiting my parents in New Mexico once a quarter. And I'm not saying for a week, but like at least we go spend a weekend with them.
Sure.
And if you think about, I said the expense thing because it is, you got to buy the flights and whatever.
Absolutely.
But I'm like,
it's
if you
real
think
life.
about it, flying to Albuquerque is not that expensive.
Yeah.
It's doable. And so I told him, I was like, if I have to add that to my budget sheet moving forward, because my dad is 69, my mom is 60 or 69. So if you think about it, hopefully they make it to 90, hopefully. But even then, so I have 20 more Christmases with them, cut in half because I split 10 more Christmases with her, if that. And that's me banking on her making it to 90.
Correct.
Right? And so when you start to put things in perspective like that, you're like, the money shouldn't matter that I spend $1,000 every 3 months to go visit my mom.
I think what you're going to hang on to is the memories will outweigh that, right? So, and again, it's every situation is different. There's people that are closer with their family and then others are. Like I said, it was always a great time, but we weren't the closest tight-knit family. I know other families that are super, super tight. We were kind of the in-between, I would say, for us growing up. So, and I'm just trying to, what's crazy is we talk about health and we talk about living to those type of ages. My goal is, and I'm not lying to you, is to go well past 100. And it's absolutely doable if we're doing things correct today and taking care of yourself today. And you start thinking about how precious that time is, and people just get it in their head. I'm getting older. This is just the way life goes. I let my body start to deteriorate. I start making excuses, why I'm getting older, and this is why I can't do certain things. I just think it's excuses.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I don't live by excuses, and I think a lot of that happens on
But
a regular
also,
basis.
you have to be with who you're surrounded with, push you out of those excuses.
Yes.
I say this is my mom got out of the hospital. She put in her mind, she was in the hospital for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
When she went to go visit my siblings in California. And when she was leaving the hospital, she thought she was going to have to be on a walker. And all of us, and there definitely was anger with her, with us, because we're like, you're not going to be on a walker. And we kept making it so strict with her. Like, once you put in your mind at your age, your body now needs a walker, that is your life moving forward.
Correct.
You can't come back from that.
No.
And so luckily she's not using a walker right now, and she's moving slower and she's recovering. But
she's moving.
Yes, but
That's
if they didn't have us, we'd be like, okay, Mom, whatever, and we just allowed it.
Yep.
I can only imagine how much quicker her body would have deteriorated.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. And that's what happened, I think, to my dad, unfortunately, right? He just wasn't taking care of himself, and he wasn't taking again, I'm anti-pills, I'm anti-medication. I've kind of been that way my whole life because, my mom, again, died in her mid-50s, and I didn't even make mid-50s, and she was, basically taking a pharmacy every day.
Yeah.
And I told my mom, I said, you can't, no doctor, I'm not the smartest guy, trust me.
Yeah.
But no one's going to convince me that you taking 20 or 30 pills a day, that these aren't offsetting each other some way. You're making yourself worse. You got to push yourself to do it. And I'm glad that you guys pushed her to, because you're absolutely right. It becomes a mindset thing. And all of a sudden now, that's where the victim mentality, well, I'm older. Well, my body can't handle it anymore. Well, I can't do that. Well, no, you put yourself in that position, and then you put that in your head.
Yeah.
That's not the case. You can do it, but you have to not let yourself get down that road.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you look at why it's so, life is, and we talk about it all the time, and it always takes something like this to happen to open your eyes to certain things. And again, it's just human nature.
Yeah.
Because everyone gets into their own world, their own life. They've got their kids. Life is busy. You got bills to pay. You got responsibilities, and you look up, and the time's over, right? We have very full-time careers that consume a lot of our time. And again, for me, it's everyone grieves differently, but for me, it was pushing through and just continue to focus on work, focus on my family, do what I normally would do, and that help distract my mind. That just works for me.
Yeah.
So.
I'm getting emotional thinking about this, but like when my grandpa died, because my son's named after him, and I was very close to him.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I was sad, and I did cry for a day. But I remember like praying to him the next day and saying, "I promise to keep raising little Key and Eddie to be just like you." Like that was like, I will let your legacy live on.
That's it.
Like I'm sad, but I'm like, I'm not going to let it die with you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I think that's the right way to look at it, right? And that's what you put into your kids. You're the same thing. What you're doing for Kian today, and what I'm doing for Allison, what you and Cole are doing for Kian and your future kids, and what Allison and I are doing for our kids is trying to leave a legacy for them, right? But it's the legacy. I think people get it warped sometimes. They think the legacy is, okay, what did you leave me? Yeah, what did you leave me? What materialistic stuff did you leave me? What kind of head start? With me, I want my kids having morals, ethics. I want them to be good people. I want them to be caring. I want them to love hard. I want them to fail regularly so they learn. I want them to listen more, unlike their dad. It's one of the things that I'm constantly trying to work on is I need to listen more. Those are the legacies that you leave, right? The relationships with your family.
Yeah. I made a post about it the other day because like I've been more intentional with Kian going to work with me. I'm like, and I said most people think the legacy is the money you leave behind, but it's the generation you leave behind you. Because how many people, either you see it in movies or real life, or fortunately some friends, they make all this money and they just feed stuff to their kids, and then when they're done, their kids blow it up.
Yep.
Their kids are partying, drinking, gambling, and all that hard work that parent did is gone. Or
because they didn't put the right effort into the core of the person, right? So me and my brother were talking about this the other day when we've been so focused on breaking the chain. I've said that before too, right? Because again, we grew up in very, very humble beginnings, and my parents did the best they could, but we struggled our whole childhood financially. We did, but again, you look at what you strip that down, you look at the things that we got from our parents and how grateful and thankful that I am because of the upbringing that I had. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I just
It's made you who you are.
Yeah. But you look at, I told my brother, I said, we keep talking about breaking the chain so that our kids have a head start in life. And what we're talking about is financial head start in life, rather than why aren't we making health one of our biggest priorities? Why aren't we making that breaking the chain? Because my dad is, like I said, one of 7 brothers.
Yeah.
There are 3 of them still left. So 4 of them have already passed away. And between them, my aunts, cousins, I don't know of anyone that's reached more than 80.
Yeah.
Everyone's been in their 60s or mid 70s that passed away. And when you start to really think about that, I'm 44 years old and I'm like, okay, my dad's 74. Or he just passed away at 74. So I'm like, he had 30 more years on this earth. And you think that's a lot of time, and it's nothing. It is literally nothing.
I'm 34 and I'm like, what happened?
Yeah. Yeah. My kids, like I said,
I'd be your age.
rude. But like I said, and not to be a somber, this is one of our more depressing, but it could be a good thing. So I think
depressing and eye-opening, though. Right?
I think it's not depressing. It depends on how you look at it. I think what happens is you could take sadness and you could flip it into opportunity, right? We talk a lot about there's opportunity. No matter what situation you are in life, there's opportunity. I take this opportunity to reflect on my life, to reflect on my relationship with my kids, reflect on my relationship with my friends, make time for the people that I need to make time for, let them know how much I love them, know how much I care about them, let them know how much they mean to me and my family. And truly, this is your opportunity to have those conversations, to tell Elena, I'm so blessed to know you. I'm so blessed that I'm doing this with you. I'm so blessed that you're a friend in our family. Or you are a family to us, and so is your husband, and your extended family as well, with the Sweetster family and all that stuff. You guys are family to us. Use that opportunity to say thank you. Yeah, thank you to all of you guys that are here, because again, that same outcrying of support. You guys are the first ones that are calling, texting. How are you? What can you do? There's the opportunity. Yeah, that's where the opportunity lies. You got to see it.
Usually, death brings people together, and it's sad that it takes death to do that. Because
it's reminders. I think it's God reminding us. It's a hey, you're getting out of, you need to get out of your own way. Yeah, it's like what you're talking about with visiting your mom. It's real estate, grind, build. Let me bring your ass back down to reality.
But it comes back down to, I wouldn't be at the top of the mountain with the people who helped me get there. And my parents are one of those people. Yeah. They worked their asses off to put us in private school.
They're the foundation.
Because Albuquerque did not have great public school systems for education. They sacrificed for 3 kids to go through private school from 6th through 12th grade. They drove old beat up cars, and their hard work has paid off. But once again, I will never forget that. Now that I'm a parent, I look at the sacrifice with like me paying daycare fees. I'm like, child of mine.
Yeah. But you look at, you think about, if you talk to your mom and your dad today, the fact that you just said this out there to everybody, how appreciative you are, recognizing and appreciating what your mom and dad did, I guarantee you, when they listen, hopefully they do, it's going to make their day. Yeah. And they're going to realize, wow, this was worth it. This was worth all the sacrifice. It was worth everything that we did, because the legacy is you and your 2 siblings. Well, that's the legacy, right? That's what they looked at it. And we've, as a society, we've gotten away from that. We've gotten away from leaving your mark on your children, so that your children could continue that path for generations to come. That's the legacy. That's what greater way to leave this world, knowing your kids are all taken care of, your kids are all independent, they're all loving, they all turn out to be good people, they have big hearts, they want to do the right thing, and they at least try to do good
back to this world.
That's it. They bring good back to the world, and good outweighs evil, and it always will. Yeah. It always will. And no matter how much evil is constantly pumped into our brain on a daily basis, I truly believe, I refuse to believe otherwise, that there's more good, and people want to do more good. Yeah. I think sometimes they just need to get a little kick in the butt, sometimes, me included, and just reminded of what are we doing this for? What kind of life do we really want to live? Like, that's just, like I said, those are the things that I've been reflecting on, especially these last few days.
Well, and as like I said, I went through this huge transition with my real estate business last year, because although I'm hustling now, it's a different type of hustle than when I started my career.
Yep.
I pushed everything and everything behind, right? And that included my family. How many times did I cancel trips to go see my family
Yep.
so I could work? Even with Cole's family here, I missed my nephew's birthday parties. And looking back, I mean, sucks. I'm making up for it now. But you look, and I guess I was caught up in that. A lot of realtors chase the money. They don't chase the life and the freedom. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Which is why people hate realtors, because a lot of them flash the fancy cars, Corvettes, or the freaking Lexus, or whatever the nice cars. I don't even know. Mercedes, I suppose. And their big houses and their big extravagant vacations. And it's like you get so caught up in that fake reality of what you're chasing for, what you're actually building, right?
Yeah.
And so the last 2 years, like, I've really changed, like, what's enough for me to live the life and build that legacy for me, because my legacy is important. And it's not mine, it's mine and Cole's, right?
Correct. What's your family legacy? What's your family legacy?
And Cole and I came from two different backgrounds. His parents had him when he was 21. Mine had me when I was 33. You're just different people at those ages.
Right.
Right? And so he was raised a little bit different than I was. So he and I are pulling together two different lives,
which is a good thing. That's a good thing, though.
We battle a lot because of it.
Yeah, but what it should do is open up your eyes to, okay, there's different ways of doing things. There's different, they say, what's the saying? There's two different ways. There's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same way, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean your way is right or his way is right. What it is, okay, what's our right?
And that's important for the compromise in a marriage, right?
Exactly. What is right to you? What's right to me? Okay, let's come to even ground, and that's not going to be right for our family.
Yeah.
And then Kean's going to see how that upbringing was, and saw that relationship with his mom and his dad, saw the fact that they compromised, saw the fact that they had each other's backs, and then that now carries on. So your legacy is a huge deal to me as well, and
so you might
all those type of
you
things.
might think this is dramatic, because I know my husband thinks it's dramatic when I say things like this, but whenever we go back to the life is short thing, and obviously there are times you get in disagreements with your spouse, and you know who I am. I just want to stew in it and be like, just hold on to it, because I know I'm right. But if you put into perspective, I know this is dramatic, but if my husband were to die tomorrow, is this little fight worth it? You know what I mean? Because life's not guaranteed, and once again, we always think like, my goal is to have 50-year anniversary with my husband.
Oh my gosh!
Right?
Yeah,
we're 8 years this weekend, and my goal is to hit 50 years with him.
And you easily can do it. Easily can do it.
And then so, but I think about it, that's just not guaranteed. Just because I hope for that doesn't mean it's guaranteed, right? I can't just say God has a plan already. And so I think about it. It's like when we have those big arguments, because we went through a hard year. Was it 2-3 years ago or whatever, before King was born? Yeah, all those miscarriages. And I started to realize, like, this is the person I want to do hard with my life. Like, no relationship's gonna be easy. So if there's somebody I had to choose to do the hard things with, it would be Cole, 100%. And so I look at it now.
Because he balances you, right? Because you have that feistiness, you have that temper.
I'm passionate. That's what he likes to say. Passionate.
Yeah, I'm really passionate too. Very passionate.
That's his way of saying I'm not crazy. I'm being crazy.
Yeah, my wife goes, "You yell all the time." I'm like, "I'm not yelling."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Where's the yelling?" I'm like, if I was yelling, the windows would be shaking. Okay,
the neighborhood would know.
Yeah, this is me just being. I just want you guys to know that I'm very passionate about this subject. Yeah, but if
you put things in perspective like that, because that's one thing my therapist taught me, is like, we all have this like focused lens and we're so close up to it, but if you just take a second to see it from a further away view, everything's so small. It is. You gotta look. It's not worth it.
It is, and it's easier, but it's easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
Because we're human, and at the end of the day, you got to cut yourself a break too. And it's human reaction. It's human to be upset. It's human to get frustrated. It's human to and again, trust me, when you talk about wanting to be right, I've never met anyone in my life that has to be right more than my wife. Okay. And I'm not lying. This is not because I'm married to her. This is because that's who she is as a person. For me, that's just who she is. She has, no matter what happens, she has to still spin it. Even if she's wrong as a part of it, let me spin this into a reason of why I thought this way or why this was, because but that's who she is. So I can sit there and dwell about it. I can sit there and let that cause a wedge between me and her. Or I can just say, you know what? This is more important to her than it is to me. This is the kind of person that she is. Yeah. Let it go. Because for me, I think I do a pretty good job of this in general, because we talk a lot about this. I think people that know me, especially my close circle, know I live life. And I try to not waste a second of it, because it is such a precious gift that we're given. And again, it ties into what we're talking about today, because no one ever thinks it's going to happen to them. No, my dad, I guarantee he didn't think he was going to happen this soon, but it happened.
Your daughter, unfortunately, lost a friend.
Yeah, she
in teenage years.
Yes, and again, no one in a million years would have saw that coming, right? Or you hear these tragedies about kids getting in car accidents, or I got 2 teenage drivers. I worry about it every day that my kids get in a car. Or every day my kids get in a car with their friend. Like, oh my gosh, please God, look over them. Please keep them safe. And it's just part of it. But they have to be an adult. They have to grow up. You have to give them that leash. You have to have faith. And you have to live life. And these are the things. You can't live your life in a bubble. It's just not the reality of it. Because if you're living your life in a bubble, what life are you living? I don't understand the concept of it. I don't understand trying to put this protect. And guess what happens? Another year goes by, another year goes by, another year goes by. And how much years did you waste, right? We have friends of ours that are going through a divorce right now, unfortunately, and you hate to see it happen. I pray for them every day, and I hope because they have kids involved too. And sometimes it just doesn't work out. But what I can tell you is that they probably would have hung out. They probably would have made it work until the kids were of age. Well, that's another decade from now. So you're going to throw away another 10 years of your life because you're afraid of how the kids might react or what society might think.
It's that weird balance though, because I feel like we all forget we need to be happy too, right? We're not here I told Cole, I'm not here on this planet to be miserable. No. I know for that damn fact.
Yeah.
But also, that's where it gets confused, because then you're seeing the divorces left and right. And I'm not talking about our friends going through it, just maybe my generation. The second they feel unhappiness, they're like, I'm out. And I say that because I am that, and that's why I'm happy to have Cole. I also was cheated on. Cole's my second boyfriend ever, and then I married him. But the boyfriend before that, I got cheated on. That stuck with me.
Sure.
And so my natural reaction is when I feel sadness, I would just pull out, like I'm done, right? And Cole's like, no, that's not how it works. And so it's been 12 years of him like saying, we're in this together, right? Yep. And most people don't. I'm lucky that I have somebody like him in his mature mind, because my generation is so easy to be like, let's quit. Yep. That's why you see my generation.
We've made it too easy to quit. We've made it too easy to throw up your hands and quit. We've made it to where divorce is almost celebrated. Like, I see
people have divorce parties.
I know, it's just, again,
like, that's sad.
It's crazy to me right now. Again, there's no judgment because you don't know other people's situations. And if people are cheated on, or they're in an abusive relationship or whatever, you want them to get out of those type of things, right? That should be celebrated if it's it's a bad situation like that.
Just because you have an argument,
but some people celebrate it because they go, cool, welcome to the club.
I'm going to be single and hook up with people now.
I see that more so today. I see more of it like, well, most of my friends have been divorced now. No one's going to judge us. It's such a regular thing now in today's society. It's no big deal. No one even thinks about it twice anymore. And then let's celebrate it because, well, now she's with us. The other 3 of us are divorced. Now we have another companion that could be in this with us. I just don't see that as, I don't see the value in it. I don't. And again, this is just for me, my perspective, and my perspective it means only enough to me and my family. But I want my kids growing up in this world, like you said, where everything just gets thrown away and everything's so easy just to walk away and quit. I want my kids to be the opposite.
Nothing good comes easy. I think people forget that.
Yeah, and what is the reward going to be when you and Cole hit 50?
Yeah.
When you look back.
I might be old with that man. He's probably going to be bald, and I won't kiss him 50 times on our wedding anniversary.
But you look at what it would take for that accomplishment.
Yeah.
Right? You think about how much forgiveness from both sides.
Yeah.
In 50 years, okay? I've been with my wife for 20. And I can tell you right now, it's taken a great deal of patience, mostly on her part, because I am not easy, because I have that bean temper, which is not good. My daughter has it, and I'm trying to break that chain.
I've got that Benavides temper.
Right, yeah, and again, no good comes from that anger. Yeah. Nothing good comes from it, except for allows you to make you feel better, to vent for 5 minutes and get things off your chest. Yeah. And then you probably, like me, if you're like me, you ultimately regret it, because I always do. Because I'm like, man, I yelled at the kids, or I jumped on the kids, or I snapped at Allison. And then 10 minutes later, 20 minutes later, I'm like, dude, why did I do that? Like, why did I make this such a huge deal? Why did I let my anger consume me? Like it controlled me, because obviously I lashed out because so I wasn't in control of the situation. But you look at, with my kids, I want them to see what the benefit is and what the payoff is
Yeah.
to work through that. And I'm always envious of people
Yeah.
that make it that far, because I know that what they had to go through
Yeah.
to hit that.
Well, and an example of earlier this week, I think that was the day I called you. I was going through that stressful day. I was like, Ryan.
Yeah.
But that night, I mean, it was a stressful day from 5:30 is when I got that text all the way through that evening. And Kian's sitting there. Cole got home, and I picked Kian up early, and I'm sitting on my computer working. And when I am hyper focused on something, maybe I have ADD or whatever it is, but when I'm hyper focused on something and my stress level is at all-time high, I've told Cole, just leave me alone. Don't try to ask me about dinner. Just do whatever you want. I said, because I don't want to snap. It's already taken so much of me to not snap, right? And so he came home that day, and I forgot what he was asking me about. And he could tell I had my computer up. I was hyper-focused, like on a message that we had a deadline, whatever. And I snapped, and I said, you see, I'm hyper-focused. And Kian was right there. And I was like, I'm trying to get this done. And so then he was like, sorry. And so I went in the room, calmed down, I came back out, and I looked at Kian. I was like, Mommy should not have lost her temper. And that's my fault. And I'm sorry. I was like, just because I'm upset doesn't mean I can be mean to you and Daddy. That's not fair.
Yeah.
It's like, it's okay, Mommy. I was like, no, it's not okay. That's not how you treat people just because you're dealing with stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I want Kian to understand, like, that whole stress moment and how we react to it, because I have that temper and I snap.
Yeah, but you're also understand that you have it, right?
Yeah.
I think what happens is, like my dad, I'll use him as an example, is there was never accountability.
Yeah.
There was never I'm wrong. There was never I'm sorry. There was never I lashed out at you and it was because of something I was doing wrong, or it was something that I was dealing with. It was expected to be like, you just deal with it because it's Dad.
Yeah.
Right? That's just his temper. That's just how he is. And eventually, I think that's BS. I don't care that it's just you. I don't care that that's your personality.
Yeah.
Work on yourself.
Yeah.
And you and I are very much of the opposite, is we are always working on ourselves.
Yeah.
And that proves the point right there. Yes, sometimes you have to go walk away and cool off and decompress.
Yeah.
But you recognize that moment, like, you know what? This was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. But you recognize it, and then you immediately try to make up for it. Now, again, it doesn't make it right, but it is allowing you to go, you know what, I got to get better. And it goes back to everything. When people started asking me about, things when I really turned a corner in my life, for the things that just came to me, and the way they look at it is they look like it just is luck. It's not luck. I realized that I was going to spend the same amount of energy just working on myself. And if I constantly try to better myself, no matter what that was, and I got a little better each day, whether it be my temper, whether it be my work ethic, whether it be how I treat my employees, whether it be how I interact with my customers, any of those things, if I just worked on myself and got a little bit better each day, it was going to translate into every other aspect of my life. And I think I'm a believer of it, because I'm a living proof of it. It happens every day. And that's what we're doing.
Well, and circle back to we're working on ourselves. If you're in a relationship like Cole, obviously the amount of times in 12 years that I snap, because once I'm working on that, it has taken a lot of grace from him and understanding to see that I'm working on it, getting better. Because before I would just let it go and never apologize, right? But now I'm recognizing it, and I'm like, and I remember coming out, I was like, I'm so sorry, I should not have done that. And it says a lot about him that he's not holding that grudge against me. He's, instead of holding that detail of, you did it, he's now seeing, okay, she's in the way of correcting the behavior completely. And that says a lot about him, because I'm a stubborn little thing. So I'd be like, oh no, you yelled at me. Marking that down and keeping that in my memory bank.
No, it takes a great deal of patience. And when you start thinking about, and Allison does it the same way with me, but when you look at Cole, that's the win. Right? And you talk about legacies, what is Kian seeing? Kian's seeing a patient father. He's seeing a dad that's not embracing that, right? He sees you guys working through it together. And again, that says a lot that you're recognizing that about your husband, because that's a great trait to have, right? And he's got his faults too, I'm sure. But he understands that I married Elena, and that means I get the package, right? That's the way it is. When I married Allison, and I have to always be right, that came with her. And I understood that about her stubbornness, her just, she has a lot of things, a lot of great things about her, but she certainly has a lot of her faults.
As we all do.
But you take them, but it's like,
you know who you're married.
No, but you accept that person as like, and as long as you're trying to work on things, and again, I probably work on things more so than she does, because if you ask her, she's, Jesus Christ, and then she's right there. She's, right?
right-hand man.
She's up there. She's up there, you know. And just kidding, all joking aside, but
you're gonna be in trouble.
To me, she is, but yeah, to her, it's deemed as close to perfect as possible. But you take the people for who they are, but you're in it together. That's really what it all boils down to. And the time that you want to spend with that person, the life that you want to create with that person, that's the legacy.
Yeah. Well, really, and I take it back from my therapist because I used to be like complaining about myself, complaining about Cole, and he'd be like, "But you married him, so now you're trying to change somebody that you knew who you're marrying." It goes back to you have to know.
You knew who you were marrying, so stop trying to change me.
You have to know who you married.
Yeah.
Right? You knew who you married when you married them, right? And I'm like, you're right. I know myself, I wouldn't have just married somebody to marry someone.
Right.
I knew Cole was a good guy. I knew one day he's going to be a great husband, which he is.
Yep.
And I knew one day he was going to be a great dad.
Which he is.
And I knew he was going to give me a fulfilled life, even though sometimes we have butt heads throughout the years.
But butting heads is a good thing.
I knew deep down in my heart, meeting him. That's why I was very strategic on dating. And he and I moved in together after a month of dating. Yeah. Like, we just knew.
Yeah.
We were talking about this the other day. We bought a house before we were married together. But I knew he was my person for life. Right? Yeah. So.
And here you are 8 years later. Anyway, so like I said, guys, we ended on a high note. See, no matter what, we started off, but
high,
but it's high, and I'm gonna move forward. I'm gonna push through like I always do in everything that I deal with. And like I said, I think successful people as a whole, they have a bad day, right? When you're struggling in life and things are not going your way, it's like, okay, I have a bad year, a bad 2 years, a bad week, a bad month. I try to have a bad half hour.
Yeah.
And try to get over it and just start looking at, okay, what is the good that can come out of this? Where's the opportunity in this? And that's what I replay in my head with everything that gets thrown at me in my life. And again, I'm nowhere where I need to be, but I'm a heck of a lot better than I was a few years ago from that aspect of, okay, where's the opportunity? What can I do to better myself in this type of situation? And it doesn't mean I'm not going to screw up. I'm going to screw up every day. You ready for this
quote I just thought of? Brilliant.
What is it?
Allow yourself to be human, but don't allow yourself to be the victim.
I like it. Elena Sweetser.
We need to start some merch.
Conversation. Yeah, let's get some merch. But anyway, guys.
Mic drop on that one, right?
Yeah, mic drop. It still has a closing that she has to get to in a few minutes anyway.
Yeah, you guys, do us a favor. If this made you think of anybody, share it with them.
Yes.
Do us a second favor of the day. Reach out to those you love. If you still have parents, reach out and tell them you love them. You don't know when your last day is.
Make those memories, make that time. Be there for someone today. Whether that is, you don't know what anyone's going through, man. Be a kind person. Buy someone a cup of coffee. Take them out to lunch. Take them on a walk at lunchtime. Reach out to someone you haven't reached out to for a long time and just send them a heartfelt text.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, it's going to be not only good for your soul, you're literally going to make that person's day. And, I know that when I get those type of things, it literally can make my day. And especially, you never know if people are having a rough one, and having a rough start to the day or having a rough week, and all of a sudden they get that text from you, hey, I hadn't talked to you in a long time, just want to let you know I was thinking of you. Think about what that's going to do. It goes further than you think. It goes a lot further than you think.
We'll catch you on the next week's episode.
Thank you so much. Continue to like, share, and Gary V, thank you for forcing us to do this, because it was you pushing us to get out of our comfort zone to start this thing. Or at least
you will be on our podcast.
One of these days.
We're putting that into the future.
We're going to get on that.
So we're holding us against us.
I love that guy.
Consistency.
I wish I could cuss as much as him. My wife's like, no.
I did. I just cursed.
Yeah, I know, but he does it like my style, which I appreciate.
Do it.
No, it's a lot of it. It's too much.
Oh my god.
Maybe when I meet him, we'll start bouncing. We'll start bouncing each other off. Yeah,
I'll curse for everybody.
There you go. Thank you guys so much. Take care.
Bye.